Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today is February 29th, and in today's lesson, we're going to go back and talk about factoring quadratic equations. So let's go ahead and begin. Example 1. Alright, if I'm talking kind of low, it's because the baby is asleep, so you'll have to get over it. Guys, when we're factoring from standard form, which is what you'll be doing today in class, what I would like for you to start doing is going to this Punnett square and just for organization reasons, I love it. All right. So we're trying to factor quadratic equations, and if you remember, there's not one there, put one there. There's a reason I like factoring, especially when this coefficient in front of x squared is 1. Factoring is pretty easy. But with the Punnett square, it doesn't matter. There's not a whole lot of thinking going on if you use the Punnett square method. I'll put my parentheses over here. That way I know, well, I can just put my answer there. The first thing we're going to do is take our first term. We'll underline it in green. I'm going to put it in the top right box. Alright. Take the last term, minus 4. We're going to put it in the bottom right box. Now, since we have a middle term, I'm going to barely highlight here. Since we have a middle term, I'm going to put x here and x here. Alright. Now, not looking at the equation, I'm going to look at the Punnett square. I'm going to multiply these two numbers together, just the numbers. Well, that gives me negative 4. Now I want to find factors of negative 4 that add together to give me the positive 3 that I got highlighted in yellow. Alright, so in this case it'd be 4 and negative 1. Alright, now I don't have to, there's no rule that says you have to put this number here and this number in this box here. Just put them somewhere. 4, negative 1. Alright, now what happens next, okay, I'll put this in orange. Something goes here, something goes here, something goes here, and something goes here. Let's find the greatest common factor of our rows and our columns. So if I start right here, I'm going to circle this section here. If I find the greatest common factor of that, what do they both have in common? Well, obviously be a 4. And one thing I just about forgot is the sign that's closest to the edge here, that's the sign that goes with it. Okay, so like right here, this negative 1x, that negative 1, since that's negative, this answer is negative. This number down here, the bottom right, it don't matter what that sign is. Alright, now let's keep going with the rows here. Greatest common factor of 1x squared, negative 1x. Well, greatest common factor of 1 is 1, but they both have an x. Alright, so right there is one of my answers. 1x plus 4. Now, you don't have to have the 1 here, so you make it just x plus 4. Alright, now do the same thing with the columns. Okay, this column here. Well, greatest common factor of that is 1x again. And then over here, there's not really much going on. There's nothing that they really have in common. The greatest common factor of 1 and 4 is 1. So I'm just going to put 1 there. That's all I got. So I'm going to write 1. Oops. Let me change colors here. 1x minus 1, which we don't need the 1 in front. Alright. So this is our factor form. And if we want to find, we'll go ahead and turn the page here. If we want to find the zeros, okay, the zeros, you got to take x plus 4 and x minus 1, those two factors. We want to set each one equal to 0. Okay, this is something that you're going to have to do on the quiz today. So I'm going to take x plus 4, set it equal to 0. So it's just one extra step. Get x by itself. So we get x equals negative 4. There's one of my zeros. And then x minus 1 equals 0. Do the opposite, plus 1 to both sides. Cancel out. X equals 1. So there's my other 0. So we're just doing one extra step. Okay, this is our extra step to find the zeros. Alright, not extra steps, but extra step. This is going to be the question. Right here is what you have to do in order to set up to actually find the zeros. Okay. Alright, so let's look at another example here. So in example 2, we're going to find the zeros by factoring. Alright. Now in this case, we have a number in front of x squared. Our a, since this is in standard form, our a is not 1. It's actually 2. Duh. Guys, if you use a Punnett square, that should be no problem whatsoever. Alright. A lot of people get frustrated when their number in front of x squared is not 1. Well, using this Punnett square, it takes care of everything. I'm going to put my first term, top left, my number in the bottom right. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is, since I have a middle term, I'm going to put x here, x here. Now, let's multiply the 2 and the 3 here, which will be 6. Now, what we want to do is we want to find two factors of 6 that add together to give me 7. I like it when these numbers are small because, factors of 6 obviously is 2 and 3 and 1 and 6. 1 plus 6 equals 7. Again, there's no rule that says you have to put 1 here and 1 here. Just put them somewhere. Alright. Now, let me put these lines here. Around the edges, remember this sign down here does not matter. Since this is positive here, this is positive here. Since this is positive here, that's going to be plus there. Positive, positive. Okay, everything's positive, so we're good to go. Alright. Now, this is the same thing. We're going to factor by rows and columns. Okay, let's look at the bottom row here. What do they have in common? really, if they don't have anything in common, it's just a rule that if two things have nothing in common, it's kind of a lie. They have at least one thing in common, and that's 1. This part's going to get interesting here. I'm going to circle it. You got 2x squared and 6x. Well, the greatest common factor of 2 and 6 is 2. And they also have x. So be careful in that part. Oops. Let me write that again. Now let's factor by columns. This first column, what do they have in common? X and 1. Last column, factors, greatest common factor is 6 and 3. Well, that'd be 3. Alright, so in the end, my answer is going to be 2x plus 1, parentheses, x plus 3. Okay, well, that's our factors. That's the hard part, really, guys. The easy part is actually finding the zeros. Alright, so what you do is you take each factor, set it equal to 0. X plus 3, set it equal to 0. And you're just basically solving simple little equations. We'll minus 1 to both sides. This is the easy fun part. Now we got to divide both sides by 2. So our first 0 is negative 1/2. This one's going to be really easy to solve. We get x equals negative 3. Okay. Negative 3. Alright. Now, last example. Shouldn't take too long. Okay. Example 3. Alright, in example 3, I messed up here. This should say 12x. Alright. In this example, one thing I want you to be careful of, and especially on the quiz, okay, I'm just going to tell you right now on the quiz, be prepared to do this. You want to check this first term, the A term, and if you're finding the zeros, you want to make sure that everything's factored as much as possible. You could really cut down the amount of work if you check this first term here and see if it divides B and C. You might want to do that first, okay? Especially on the quiz. This is going to be a test to see how much you guys paid attention. Since 2 divides 12 and 18, I'm going to go ahead and factor that out. Okay? Now we got 2 divided by 2, which is 1x squared, plus 12 divided by 2 is 6x, plus 18 divided by 2 is 9. And then set that equal to 0. Now, I just made the problem that much easier. I'm going to take what I got highlighted and go back to my Punnett square. Okay? So, I'll go ahead and go through it. First term is 1x squared. Last term is positive 9. Since I have a middle term, x here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to not factor, but I'm going to multiply the 1 and the 9 which makes 9. I'm going to find 2 factors of 9. They give me 6. Well, that's going to be easy. 3 and 3. I don't think it matters where you put the 3 at, right? Now, I'll go through, find the greatest common factor of my bottom row, which is 3. And the sign's positive here, that's positive here. Greatest common factor of that top row would be x. First column is also x. Since that's positive 3, that's positive. And the greatest common factor of that column is actually 3. Alright, this one works out really nice. Probably because I made it up myself. X plus 3, parentheses x plus 3. Alright, so what's going to happen here when you find the zeros? You said each one equal to 0. Uh-oh. I think Bubby's just waking up. So, guys, I may have to wrap this up here. Here's what happens when you solve. That cancels out. We get negative 3 here, which is fine. But we also get negative 3 here. Alright? So, really, if it says find the zeros and that's the only number that occurs, then that's the only one that you could select. Alright? Now, guys, there's probably roughly 10 questions on the daily math practice. Just as a reminder, I want you to make sure you understand that everything is due in class by the end of the period. Okay, if I don't get it, if Mr. Teeters don't get it in today, then I'm not taking it. Alright, another thing too is make sure you're getting Study Island done. I don't know how many times I have to preach that to you. It's only hurting everybody's grade if you don't do it. So, guys, I can't make you do it, but your grades are suffering if you don't do it. So, I do have one due this Friday, which is March 4th. Please be aware of it and get it done. Until then, take care.